Can you guys all see that it's recording?
Yep, we are
Perfect.
good to go, boss.
Perfect. All right. So welcome to DTO Sunday Warm Up. I use DTO every Sunday before I play, usually at this time. So when you first log in to the post flop, so they have post flop, cash, and then also pre-flop. I can honestly say I've never touched the pre-flop. I don't even know what it looks like. But post flop, I was told by Dominic with DTO, especially for like new users, never click the instant play because it jumps you around from spots, and like you know, unless you're really paying attention to position and chips, like you'll just be like, okay. So we'll go ahead and choose your spot. I'm going to choose just kind of an easier spot for today, but you get all of your pre-flop scenarios. You get 3-bet, heads up, ICM, limp, and single raise pot. So I'm going to go single raise pot, 30 big blinds, and then I'm going to do big blind versus the low jack.
So which position are you then?
It rotates. It rotates.
Yeah, I've
This
never
is
used
just like
DTOs.
generally saying that in this spot.
Yeah, you're like
Got
setting
you.
the parameters for it. I've never used it, so I'm excited to see how this.
Yeah, this
how
is
this
actually
goes
new to
through.
me too. So if you feel like it's like, if you feel like you're going slowly, don't worry.
No,
about
yeah,
that.
I'll go
Yeah.
slow. So I actually switched it to 20 big blinds. That's the spot I played. It's one of the easiest spots. I was talking with Dom because some new users were kind of having trouble with some things, and he was like, oh, well, tell them to start on this spot. And it's just the easiest spot to navigate. And then so after you collect your positions, your stack depth, and your pre-flop scenario, you just come over here, click play. And so right now we're in the big blind. Pretty simple one here. We'll just go ahead and probably check. Not really much backdoor equity, nothing really going on for us. So you just fold. 10 out of 10 points.
You got excellent. You got instant feedback.
That's cool. I do like that. Yeah, I mean, I like that approach.
And then once I hit a mistake, because we'll hit a mistake, I'll kind of go through the evaluations with you. There's no real point on a hand like this. Oh, they must have reset the streaks. I had like a streak of like 25 going.
25 correct hands.
Yeah.
I don't think I've played 25 correct hands in my career.
That's awesome. All right. So this is a little bit better one. So 10-9 deuce, 2 spades. We got the ace of spade. Low jack versus big blind. We can almost always bet in position smaller. Some pots, like if there was an ace on the board or like jack was the high card, we could go bigger usually, but we'll just bet 1.1 and we get a fold. Oh, 6 out of 7. There you go. There's a little mistake. So it wanted us to bet all in. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it does.
Huh.
They had king 4.
So I clicked the evaluation tab. We had ace jack. This one might need editing. That doesn't make sense.
Hang on a second. It's telling you to rip with ace jack with the ace of spades on a
Okay.
10-9 deuce.
Okay.
You
So
gotta put pressure on your opponent.
So I have the super high roller subscription,
Hey, yeah.
which is, I think it's $90 a month or something like that. With promo codes, you can get it down a little bit. They also have like a $30 subscription that the $30 will show you all the ranges, but it doesn't show you the percentages. So it's just
So
kind of
that is in this
incentive
situation, it's
to-
telling you that 13% of the time that you have ace jack.
you're gonna bet all in. And it looks like that's only with your ace of spade combos
I say,
because we're blocking the nut flush draw.
so like if you have, like it's absolutely the opposite thing then if you had the ace of clubs and the jack of diamonds, because you block neither.
Right. But then you can click on this tree here. And so you can choose bet one.
Those are the different sizes that you can
Yep.
choose, and then it's going to
Oh,
go and
okay.
show you which combos are best suited to that sizing, right?
Right.
That makes perfect sense.
So
to
can
me.
you slow down on that? Because like this is significantly different than the previous chart.
Right. Right. So like with the all in, I'm thinking the reason you get more points is on that is because the all in, like you'll get the most positive chip EV because they're just going to fold everything.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So when we bet small, you got, most of these combos you can just bet small with, except for the ace of spades. It liked that jamming.
Oh, so that's the point that I saw, because all the other ones are high percentages, but particularly with the ace of spades. And then I see this one, the ace of spades with the jack of diamonds is also a high percentage. I wonder, this is such a peculiar, it's like if you look into it, it just makes you wonder why.
So like these ones
'Cause
that
you're
are
blocking a
slightly,
backdoor.
yeah, you're blocking a backdoor flush, and they've ran like all of their solves. They've just ran them, millions upon millions of times, and they make sure that they're good to go before they implement them into the software. I'm not sure if they use Munker or Pio or which solution that they use. I know they spend a lot of time on solves and like making sure their trees are right. Let's see here. So then we can come over here. So we bet small. We can click on DTO's range. And a lot of this stuff that's taken out is like all their folds. So they're going to continue with like some of their backdoor stuff. And then also a lot of these hands up here that are out they're out because they would have 3-bet them pre. So they just don't include them in the range.
That makes sense.
But so you can see like they're going to continue with a lot, but then they also have a lot of folds, so jack 6, they're going to continue obviously if it's suited. But then the other combos, they'll just fold. Let's see, there's not really any frisky ones in this
What's
hand.
the effective stack in this scenario?
This is
20.
20 big blinds,
Got it.
single raise pot.
Got it.
And yeah, Jamel, you came in just a little late, but at the beginning, Tim was kind of setting the parameters for the spot, and then what DTO does is run you through various instances within those parameters. So the who's in what position and the cards will change, but the positions involved, the stack and the single raise pot, it seems like, are the fixed
Yeah,
variables.
they'll stay the same, like your 2 positions, the pot size, everything. Like, but you can rotate. Like sometimes we'll be in position, sometimes we'll be out of position, and then you just kind of go from there.
Mhm. So it's saying you got 6 out of 7 because you could have used a better sizing given the
Yeah.
exact hand that you had, because
Yep.
you had the ace of spades. It says go for a bigger sizing.
Yep.
But so I really like, that's a pretty nuanced response,
So
because that's like saying, that's getting at a lot of the different variables at work there. So that's pretty cool. I like that.
right. And so I was talking with Dom a couple weeks ago. We had just kind of a thread going, and there were some people chiming in on their Discord channel. And somebody was like, like I'm getting close on these hands, but I'm getting a lot of like inaccuracies. And like straight from Dom was like, well, if you're getting just inaccuracies, that means like you're on the right path. Like, yeah, like you're betting when you're supposed to bet, but you're not selecting the right amount. Don't worry about those like when you're still like kind of new to the solver world, because there's just a bunch of different amounts that you could bet until you really like start to hone into it. You're going to have like some small inaccuracies along the way.
Eric, did you want to jump in there for a sec? I saw you.
Yeah, so it gave you more points for the all in because it was a higher frequency than the small bet, right?
Right.
Okay.
And also you're going to get like, as you saw, like they're going to fold basically everything. And so that automatically would make it like more positive EV of a play to do that versus to not jam. But like say,
Gotcha.
I'm sure another hand will pop up kind of similar, but if we had a pair on that board, like if we were on the board with the ace of spades in that position, we would not jam, because at that point you're like, oh, like I'm loving life. I got the backdoor flush, top pair, top
We
kicker.
want them to call. We want to get
Right.
more value. Gotcha.
And we could
Can I
see
just
that.
chime in and ask something about that real quick?
Yep.
It's like, it's like it's a double reverse of what you would normally think, right? You think like, oh, I made a pair, I made 2 pairs, so I have a made hand, so I should bet it. And then you think the computer says, well, if you have a made hand, you should bet a little bit.
Yeah.
You know?
So the big thing I've noticed, especially at like smaller stack sizes, is you're gonna slow down your betting or kind of go smaller, like when you say like have top pair, top kicker with backdoor draws, because you're just blocking so many of their continues that if you bet like for the bigger size, they're just gonna fold when you don't want them to.
So interesting, those hands that like the hands that the computer says to push with, like, I mean, they have equity on their own. Like, why would you, like, why would you just want to get folds when you really don't mind a call with 2 overs in the backdoor nut flush draw?
I think
You
your
know what I mean?
equity is
Like,
your
there's-
insurance. Your equity is your backup plan. But
Yeah,
I mean,
yep.
if you would like
So-
them
so
to
the
fold out all their
goal then
equity.
is- The goal then for a lot of these hands is to get your opponent to fold.
Yeah, I've kind of like come to a point like in tournament poker, especially, like I've noticed a lot of the plan is to get folds before the river, unless you have like a massive value hand. But like if you don't have like a big value hand or a lot of equity, like you don't want to see more cards. You want to try to win the pot then and there. Otherwise, every time that you get called on
just-
each street, the equities get closer and closer together. Like in position, you're always going to have the equity advantage going to the flop against the big blind. Once the flop comes, like most flops, you'll still have the equity advantage because you're going to have the nut advantage of like 2 pairs, sets.
Simply because you're in position.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I think they're just calculating that chip EV. Like, sure,
Yeah.
you have 20-30% equity. So 20% of the time you get there with your high equity hand, but the EV of winning 20% of the hands must be lower than jamming and getting 100% of the
Right.
getting the value 100% of the time.
Yep.
It's just that pushing your chips in, if you do it often enough, I'll be the one to tell you. They'll call you down. They
Well, yeah,
will.
this is
They'll call you
GTO. This
right
is
down.
not like real people, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is true.
You have real field data to prove that they'll eventually call you down.
It's true. It's true. Time after time, you go to the 9 o'clock rec poker game. You can't get away with Jack 8 offsuit. You just gonna get called. Yeah, backdoor, gutter, all that.
That's right.
Nope. None
Yeah,
of
no,
it's
this-
good. None of it's good.
All right. So what are we thinking on this hand? It's check to us. We got a pair of 7s on a 10-9-3 rainbow board.
That's a good hand.
Anybody have any thoughts?
Our hand benefits from protection. The board actually will give the big blind a lot of gut shots, a lot of continues.
I would check this because of the
Yeah.
9 and the 10.
Yeah.
Like if it was higher cards or lower cards, I'd be more inclined to bet it.
I like that. Let's go ahead and click check, see what happens. All right. Let's see what it wants us to do. So it just wants a little small bet. And it looks like with this board, we're going to small bet like 100% of our range. This is basically our entire range.
Mhm.
Now Since I got an inaccuracy, I don't get to see their action. That's the one thing I kind of don't like with DTO sometimes is like, so since we got an inaccuracy there, I can't just click on, like there's no second action for DTO here. So what I usually do is I just close this and then I just hit retry fixed. And it'll give you the same scenario, same hand, and we'll click that. So they fold, but then I always come back to the evaluation
Mm.
and see like, okay, this is what they're folding.
That's a good workaround.
And it just helps. Like I at first was kind of against like the super high roller because it is expensive, but I will say like it changed my life being able to see these percentages. And
Yeah, being able to visualize the range, the different parts of the range, that unlocking that, I can see that for people that learn visually like me, I can
mhm.
see that being a huge benefit.
And I don't want anybody to feel like they have to buy like the super high roller because it is expensive. Like I totally get that. I do this also with my coaching group because there's only me, myself, and Gareth are the only two that have super high roller. So like when people run into a hand where they're not really sure, like feel free to send it to me and I will like you can click let me come back here. Where's it at? You can click share hand or copy the link. You can copy the link up top here and you can just send me the link to the hand and I can play through it and I can send you all of the percentages. So don't feel like you have to get super high roller to do that. Yeah,
That's
it
cool.
helps, but at the same time, like it's $100 a month. Like
Hmm.
for most, like especially recreational players, that's pretty expensive. So
And you're going to be here every Sunday morning, right, Tim?
Yep,
We can come
every
and check in with
Sunday.
you and pick your brain.
Yep.
Because I think this is really cool. I think, you know, we're getting more folks at Rec Poker that have like the tool that they really like to work with, and being able to like share that with other recreational players, I think is great. So like having you as a guide for this kind of stuff, I can see it being really valuable. That's the way I feel about Poker Tracker 4. Like
Yeah.
I'm not great at a bunch of the other software tools out there, but I know the one that I'm really good at. And,
Right.
you know, that's the one I like to work with to help people. So this is cool, very cool tool.
Yeah. So every Sunday, yeah, I'll be here. You can feel free, send me hands during the week. The only day I probably wouldn't look at them is Wednesday, because that's when I
Yeah,
stream.
grinding.
But other than
Yeah,
that,
you stream
whatever
on
I
Twitch
can
that
load
day.
up, it takes me like 2 minutes, to pop it up on my computer and go through the hand. So
That's great.
I also do that for the coaching group. So it's no extra real work for me.
And people can post that right in the forum for this group too.
Yeah.
In the Rec Poker forums there, and that's an easy way for everybody to take a look at the hands that people are examining, and you know we can
So
share.
basically we would like copy the hand history or write out the hand history.
You can just copy up here at the top, just copy the web page and just paste it. And then I can just click right on it and it'll take me right to that hand.
Cool.
And then I can go through the hand. I can play it how, like, say if like you had like some
Wait,
weird,
do I
like-
have to have DTO for this?
Yeah.
I got you.
And you don't like need DTO to show up every week. I'm not going to say like you have to have it. It would
The
be
benefit,
beneficial
though.
because then you're
Sort of on
able
board
to
with it.
kind of partake and kind of give feedback,
it
because
along.
each week,
Yeah.
like at the end of the session, I'll be like, okay, this week we're going to go over this spot. And so then, during the week, you can go over that spot by yourself.
Although I got to tell
Gotcha.
you, I can tell already that even though I've never used DTO, I'm still going to learn about poker hand by hand by watching you guys analyze it here with the program, even if I just show up every weekend and hang
Right.
out.
Yeah.
So I can see how I'd get more out of it for having it, but this looks really cool. I'm excited to see how
Yeah.
this develops.
Yeah. And each week I'll do a different spot. This week I just kind of chose this spot because it's kind of one of the easier spots to demo with. Like their lowest score is called a blunder. So blind
nice.
versus blind, I've been trying to work at because I'm terrible blind versus blind. Like I find myself just folding pre-flop in a lot of like
I
spots
hate
where I'm
blind
like,
versus
I
blind.
think I got to open this, but I just fold because I'm not good at it. I think
like
last
blind
weekend I
blind.
tried to do some blind versus blind in my warm up and I blundered like 12 hands in a row.
I like those positions. I like those spots because nobody knows what you got. You could have any two
Exactly.
in either of those positions. Yeah.
That's why I hate it.
So are you
Yeah, I
saying
love that
you're
stuff.
difficult to range, Woody?
And I might be. There might be. You might not. You might have to. Oh my god, we have. Oh my god, all in. All the fucking. Dude, are you kidding me? We have 16 outs 4 times. Well, it's if you twice, but times
Well,
4 rather.
if you're the big blind, don't you want to check raise?
Yeah, you're definitely.
I
gonna
just
check.
want to get the money in.
There's going to be, just from what I've noticed in this spot, I've ran about 200 hands in this spot. You're going to be doing a lot of checking from the big blind, unless like
Under.
it's like a super small board and you just flop it, you know. But a lot of these boards, because as we saw like on the previous one, the low jack is just going to bet.
Right, he's
Like
gonna small
90%.
bet almost, yeah,
So
most of his range. Yep.
So you want to sort of entice them to allow them to bet so that you can then get some money in the pie and then put a little bit more in.
right.
When you have a draw this good, it's fucking, you want to get money in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he bet big here. So if we raise, he could possibly jam, and then we probably have to fold.
So
I
we
fold
jam,
shit.
right?
We could jam here with 18 behind.
Yeah.
total.
We
Yeah,
have
I'm-
7 high. I mean,
Come on, put it in there.
See what they say.
oh,
Inaccuracy. Come on,
Small
computer.
inaccuracy though. Small inaccuracy. So I'm thinking.
How do you tell the small and that? Can you re-show that screen there?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
was
So it
that?
was just
Can you
minus
just
point
sort of-
minus
okay.
0.1 EV right here.
Okay.
Okay.
What is it? 4P versus 20P.
That's just your available points in the hand.
Oh, 4 of 20.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay. And then once you click evaluation, it gives you this information here.
Yep. So like all in and the raise to their bet, we're just minus 2 points versus
Oh.
like if we folded to their big bet, we get minus 20.
Yeah, so it really wants the call there, eh?
It
Yep.
prefers to call.
Yep.
Okay.
But
100%.
interestingly, it looks like the small raise and the shove are equally bad, as it were. Like they're
Yeah,
they're,
right.
they're sort of indifferent to each other.
So you're either gonna
if
be
you're not
wrong
gonna-
or worse.
Well, no,
wrong.
but it also means that like it's a pretty close spot.
Right. Right.
So you can sort of just like be guided by your senses in that moment.
Yeah.
I guess
that-
if you look back at that, to riff off of what you were saying, Jim, just to continue off of what you were saying, is that it may be incorrect to raise or to shove, but it is not as incorrect as to fold.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it also, just looking at this from the outsider's perspective, it also just tells me that like calling is clearly the right thing to do, and that
Okay.
if you're going to raise, it doesn't really matter what you raise to.
Right.
So I'd be curious to know if we had like 14 big blinds, if it likes the
yeah.
shove better. But I get why we're calling, because it's still actually an absolutely small bet, and we have a lot of equity in the hand. So.
Right.
I'm just wondering, does it ever have a turn leading range? I'm just curious
Let's see.
if we're calling.
Bad card, but
We can see. Okay.
Oh, it's a
Blunder.
It
A
did not
blunder.
like that. Nope.
Now, wait a second. Is it only a blunder because it came the 3 of
yeah,
hearts?
probably
On that particular turn
probably.
card,
Yeah, it was a
yes.
bad
Okay,
turn.
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
Can you change that?
You can't physically change a turn. I know somebody just asked that in their Discord, and I think they said that would make a lot of work for them.
It
just
would
being
be
able
a
to
ton
change.
if you could just like dream. If you could just like dream boat the whole thing, be like,
Right.
oh well, what if the 9 of
Now-
diamonds did come?
Now, interestingly enough, though, that's where having multiple tools available to you, like Flopzilla, for instance, you could
do
go
that.
open that up and say, in this exact spot with these exact cards with this range that DTO is giving me, well, what if the
Yeah.
turn does come the 5 of diamonds?
Right.
What does
Yeah.
that do to my equity? And then, you know, you'd have a different piece of the puzzle over
Yep.
there. And I think that's one
Wow.
thing, like knowing what tools are best for doing what, and like not just having one thing that we try and use all the time to do everything.
Right.
Equilab, Flopzilla, DTO, whatever it is that works for you,
PTK.
Poker Tracker,
Poker
different
Tracker, yeah.
ways of looking at different parts of the problem. But yeah, that's a great take on it, I think, for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not
Like
sure,
I
yeah.
use Equilab, but I'm pretty sure Equilab's like the same thing as Flopzilla.
Yeah,
basically.
you can choose. Yeah, Flopzilla makes it easier to like group things together.
Yep.
Post flop, but they're doing the same thing.
All right, so I'll click check here,
So
and they check back. So now we know like 7 high is not gonna win ever. So then we just kind of got pick a sizing. Do we overbet, bet half pot, you know, for value, or do we do like a real small donk bet? I like to call them. I don't know if it's necessarily a donk bet, but when it's the real small sizing, I'm always like, what are you doing? Like, I have to call my ace high here.
Yeah, he doesn't have a king, right? That's basically what we've decided when he
Right.
checks back the turn.
Right.
So I'm always in that spot. I'm thinking, what gets a 10 to fold? What's the bet size that gets a 10 to fold? Or are we even trying to get a 10 to fold? Maybe we're trying to get an 8 to fold. And what's the
Yeah,
bet
we're trying
size
to
that's
get
going to make
I
them
get
fold
it.
one pair? I think half pot gets an
Yep.
8 to fold.
Yeah, I like it.
What? I'm sorry, did it go check on the,
On the
Turn.
turn, yep. And then so we bet 5.5 here, half pot.
And he shoves in our face.
Yeah,
And
easy,
he-
easy game. Easy game.
Yeah,
We fold.
so you fold. And then see, there
we
you
made
go.
the best decision on the river.
Oh, we did make
Yeah.
pretty good decisions. The bet, I
Nope,
think the
nope.
bet fold on the river is.
It liked the all in on the
Oh, it
river.
liked the
Ah,
shove.
because you allowed him to shove it back in our face.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah, I think
game
we were just
theory.
too short. Like we bet over a third of our stack. on
yeah,
the
yeah.
River there. So like you need to be
Checking
really
that river
bet
is 5
small.
big blinds is too.
How come
Either,
it would like any bet size other than folding or all in with that stack size? Because
Yeah,
in
the
real
stack size
tournament
is
play,
key.
you're not gonna get yourself down to 9 big blinds as a voluntary choice.
Yeah, that's true. That is a very good point. Very good point.
and was it, does that,
Oh,
does
then
that,
he had ace 10, it says. He had ace
Mhm.
10 with the checking back the flush draw in the turn. So I don't
Yep.
know if we were going to get ace 10 to fold no matter what versus their entire range. I don't know how that plays out otherwise.
Here we can go back through it real quick. That way, and I'll just jam. That way we can see
When
their
you-
folding range.
okay,
Check.
okay, now on the river,
It wants
Rip.
us to jam, yeah. Okay.
I snapped.
So then we can
You're-
go to evaluation here. And we can click call. So this is what they're gonna call with.
All the gold color.
So they're gonna bluff catch with spades. It doesn't really make sense, but because there's no 3 on the board. But I guess
They're
then they're
just looking-
blocking spades.
Yeah,
King 6, so basically all their kings are gonna call.
Oh yeah.
it's a lot of kings too.
Looks like their diamond combos are the only ones that are calling though.
Well, I think maybe their other combos would have bet the turn. Maybe.
Yeah, that's probably exactly right.
Good deduction there.
Tim, what happens if you click on the king 10 suited, the shaded out one? Does anything come up or does it just
No, so it's not
okay,
there
'cause
because
it's just void from earlier actions.
yeah,
no- it's
because
no
they
longer
would have
in.
like 100% bet that on the
Yep.
turn.
Perfect. That makes sense.
And
that's something that we all need to pay more attention to in real time, is actually excluding the combos that people take certain actions with on earlier streets, because
Yep.
we get here on the river in real time and we're like, oh, well, he has all these king 10s. Like, well, no, he doesn't really. We actually eliminated a
Like-
bunch of those on an earlier street.
right.
But that's hard for us to do it in our brains while we're playing poker.
And that also could mean that we've eliminated that from their range because of their inaction. Like, we know that this person, if they had specifically the king and 10 of clubs here, that they would have been betting that on the turn.
Right,
And because they didn't, we can then eliminate that from their range on the river.
right, right. And as you can see, like a lot of their 2-pair combos, except for 10-8. 10-8 of spades is going to check because on the turn they get equity. They have more equity with the spade draw. But like 10-8 of clubs and 10-8 of hearts, I'm guessing is betting the turn. So that's why there's 0% here, because they're just not in the range.
This is good. If I would have looked at this tool and not had this evaluation, I wouldn't have been able to understand that.
And then like, let's see here, ace 10. It looks like they have all of their ace 10 here. So, and they're just calling with every ace 10. So we're just not folding out any ace 10s but the reason that is because they know 2-pair or a king is definitely betting the turn.
Yeah, and that's why we have to be thoughtful when we're considering bluffs. You know,
Yep.
what is the hand that we're actually trying to get a fold from here? And I
Yeah,
think,
just for like a live experience, I was playing, I think it was like last Sunday, maybe it was Wednesday. And I was against the small blind. I raised early position, small blind, came along, big blind came along. And the flop was a low board, and I had like a pair of 10s or something. And I just remember I bet small. The small blind raised me. And I was like, okay. And the big blind folds, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, it was like a 6-5 deuce board. And I was like, well, he has none of those cards in his range whatsoever. Like, unless it's specifically a set, but a set doesn't raise you because they want value. You know, they don't want to just push you out of the hand. So I'm like, okay, call. Turn, it was like 8. He leads now for like a pretty big sizing. And I'm like, still, like, you don't really have any 8s in your range unless it's specifically pocket 8s. And again, you don't want to lead. And then this went on through the river. River was like another low card that didn't really make the straight. And I wasn't worried about the straight if it did, because it's the small blind, and he just rips. And I'm like, not making sense here. I call, and yeah, he had like ace king. And I'm like, well, see, that's why you have to know your ranges. Like, you know your ranges, you know that he's not on that board, and he's just trying to get you off your hand. Which,
of course, in theory, ace king's a 3-bet.
right.
So he's not following the chart anyway.
Right.
But yeah. It's the difference between small blind versus big blind.
Mm-hmm.
It would make more sense if he were the big blind.
All right. We got a let's see here. Oops. All right. What are you guys thinking on this hand?
I think there's a pattern of we almost small bet. I mean,
Yep.
it's never a blunder. It's
yeah,
never
so-
a blunder. It might be
yeah.
an inaccuracy, but
yes,
it's never
well
a blunder.
said. Well said.
Yeah, I've noticed that, especially 20 big blinds, early position versus big blind, where
Yeah.
you're never going to get like a blunder, or even most times an inaccuracy if you bet small. Like, you know, you might get raised sometimes and then have to fold, or the big betting is like when you have a bunch of equity or top pair, you know, just stuff like that. But I've noticed like with the small bet, they're going to fold. Like here they raise, so we're just going to fold.
Yeah, even on those 6, 7, 8 or 7, 8, 9 two-tone, you know, those boards that, you know, you really don't have the range advantage anymore. You're still giving people an opportunity to fold is valuable.
Right.
And so it's even if you are going to get check raised, usually it's going to be, if you're c-betting wide, then you're c-betting with a bunch of bluffs, and getting check raised when you're bluffing on a board like that isn't really the end of the world. You just get to move on to the next hand faster.
Right.
And we're going to win that hand.
Right, exactly. And then also if they notice like, oh, hey, this guy's c-betting a lot, like I'm just gonna check raise him all the time. Well, some of those times you're gonna have the nuts
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, okay, thanks, buddy, call.
Yeah.
And then they barrel again and you're like, okay, call. You know?
Yep.
So
It's
sometimes
hard.
it really
It's
works
hard.
out.
Yeah. Being in position, right? That makes a
Yep.
huge difference.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Position is just key. I know like one thing my coach always says is when you're playing live, just remember, play as many hands in position as possible.
mhm.
And it's just because people don't typically understand the power of position. All right. So this is a good one. We've got flush draw. We've got top pair, pretty much top kicker. It's almost always check to us. So
Seems
What are you
like a
thinking
bigger
here?
bet. Seems like
Actually
a
kind
bigger
of like
bet.
the bigger bet too.
Yep.
Yeah.
that's what I'm
2.8.
kind of thinking. Calls.
And then what's behind here? 15.
15. Yep.
I like the, if you go half pot here, it's a fairly trivial shove on a lot of rivers, I think.
Yeah. So if you go
So-
half pot here, it's about 47%. The last bet was like 50%. On the river, we're going to be again about 50%. So that's geometric sizing to get you to the
Right.
river. 3 equal bet sizes.
Yeah, I'd rather overbet a hand like the king 10 of diamonds here and use the half pot sizing for a one pair hand like this.
Yep. I like it.
Perfect.
Yeah. Now we just get it in.
Rip it
I think so.
behind.
King Jack.
Boom. 31 out of 31.
Yeah,
Love to
that's
see
pretty
that.
good eval. All right.
Easy game.
Yep.
It's that
Flop
that
top
texture,
pair.
right? That board texture says bet bigger here.
Yep.
So we do. Awesome. So we remember this hand, right? We were in the other position here
Yeah.
just a few before, and we know how scary that check raise is.
Right.
When you guys are thinking about check raise bluffing, what are the kind of qualities that you look for in a hand? Like if I was check raise bluffing here, I'd want a hand like Jack 9 that blocked some of the 10x combos that my opponent might have or something.
Right.
Also has a backdoor straight.
Yeah.
Yep.
So backdoors.
Yeah. You're going to want like, even like big cards here, something that's blocking like king 10, ace 10,
Mm-hmm.
queen 10, we kind of block, but early position, I don't think they have a whole lot of queen 10s. They might have some suited, but they're not going to have a whole lot. Trying to think. But yeah, like
So-
Jim said, you want to block hands. That way, they can fold
Yeah,
because we could raise here and they could just jam with a 10.
It's different when there's like natural bluff candidates out there, like drawing hands. If this was like 4, 5, 9 or something, then you could do it with more hands that have some draw equity, but there really are no draw equity hands here other than
Right.
backdoors.
Right. And like this specific instance, like if we raise and he calls, then what?
Then we're done.
What card are we continuing on in turn?
Right.
Basically 0 cards.
Yeah, I like a fold. I mean, we have better candidates, I would think.
Yep.
Yeah.
As you can see, they had king 9, stone cold bluff, but
Yeah.
that's
But
the power
also-
of
But
betting in
still ahead of
position.
us.
Yeah.
Also, we don't have to have a lot of bluffs there because we don't have a lot of value check raises either.
Right.
So because we're going to be folding a lot all the time, we don't need to be like manufacturing all these bluff spots. But if we ever want to check raise, a 10 or pocket 5s or whatever we have there that we feel really strong about, then we should have some candidates in that check raising range that make it not so exploitably strong that people can just fold every time we check raise.
Right.
I like to think, okay, this might be a good situation, good
Hmm.
scenario to check raise, but what about what properties of my hand make it?
Yes.
Because
I love that.
I mean, otherwise, if I just say, "Oh, this is a good situation," do it, I'm going to be overdoing it, right? I mean,
Yep.
if I'm doing it with my full range,
Mm-hmm.
So even on that one,
I
you might
agree
only
with
do it
you.
with like the Jack 9 of spades, the Jack 9 of diamonds, or the Jack 9 of clubs, where you've got the backdoor flush
Right.
and the straight, and you're blocking the tens like that. That's a good set of qualities for that hand to have. as
Right.
well.
Right.
Basically, that hand though was the definition of bad position. We
Yep.
had under the gun, which should have very strong hands
Yeah.
to open there.
Yep.
And we're big blind calling wide instead of the broad hand. We might have a
Yeah.
high probability of hitting the flop because of that, but we don't have any positional strength, and our actual hand strength was 0. I mean, there can't be anything there but a fold.
I
Right?
agree.
Right. Right.
Yep. 100%.
I'm actually surprised
Can I
queen
ask you
nine,
guys
queen
something
nine
quick?
offsuit is actually a defend a big blind. I just,
You're going to
Stack depth,
defend a
maybe?
big blind against an under the gun bet. Is that of all the plays on the board that you'll ever have one?
I mean, it's actually a low jack, right? I mean,
Yeah. So
That's
this
true.
is
It is
six-handed.
six-handed. Yeah. So
it's actually a low jack, but still queen 4 offsuit is pretty bad.
So
I
I
mean,
think,
yeah, it's bad hand.
let me pull up my charts here because I was actually surprised one day. From 20 bigs, you would be surprised. Like you almost don't fold anything.
No, it's 20 down to like 12. The value of making one pair is awesome.
Yeah,
So you
because you're
do-
just
you-
going to get it in with a pair.
You end up
most of the time.
defending the small blind. It's a little counterintuitive, but you do end up trying to get it and go when you get shorter stacked like that. It's weird.
Let's see. Facing an open, big blind, 20 bigs.
And I think it's the theory is even if you are out kicked when you get a pair of queens, you just get your stack in and hope for the best because that's going to be your best chance to double up.
yeah.
So these
But
are
I think it would also be true of like 10-7, for instance.
the
It's crazy.
ranges. Oh, and let me go to low jack. So versus a low jack at 20 big
Oh, wow.
blinds, I mean, you're calling 5 deuce off.
Yeah, I probably don't have the stones to call with 5 deuce off, but the rest of it looks about right.
Because
Yeah,
I just remember the other day we were reviewing this spot and somebody was like, well, I had queen 3 off in the big blind. Like that never happens. And I'm like, nope, that's right in your range. Like you're calling a lot worse than that. But it's like Jim said, it's because of how low you actually are that, a pair is just so valuable at that point, especially if you flop top pair, like sub 20 bigs, you're perfectly fine getting it in. Let's go back to here.
Single action.
All right, we got the up and down. Any thoughts on this one?
Get some money in there. Yeah, lead.
Oh, we're checking.
If we just real quick, Woody,
checking.
if we lead here,
Yeah,
like this ace card, what are we gonna do when he raises?
and got fucking. We're gonna call.
We like, yeah, we have some backdoor equity and we do have the straight jaw, but other than that, like when that doesn't come, then we're just putting a lot of money in the pot for no like real reason.
So what
And-
do you guys recommend that you do? Check. Is it like an obvious check to everybody else?
So when you're short like this and out of position, especially from the big blind, you're just gonna check. Like usually it's like 90% of the time. Like there might be some hands where like we flop bottom set. Bottom set's a real good one that you want to get money in the pot with early. But some like 2-pair
But an open
combos. or-
open ender with the back door. No, that's not
And-
like
and I
you're
could be wrong, like I could check here and it could just give us an inaccuracy. I'm just going up like purely off of other hands that I've noticed.
Personally, I like the check. I prefer as a check raise here, because he's going to be on that ace high flop. He's going to be c-betting a lot. And if you lead here, you
you'd sort of
never get another
that
penny
bluff away
from him
from
the
him.
times when he's bluffing. And when he does have an ace, then you probably get more out of him because he continues now with a larger pot on the flop. But he
Of
does
course, a
check
check
behind
raise
sometimes.
a check raise is a jam. It's
Well,
a check jam.
I don't know. We looked at that in
So-
an earlier hand where
Yeah,
Um,
but the mistake that everybody made was like raise a little bit, and the computer was like, "Nah, bro, you should have raised all in."
well, no, it said you should have called. It said you should have called, but if you were gonna raise, it didn't really matter if you
Make
raised a
it
little
go.
or a lot. So
Oh man, I misunderstand these things all the time. That's why I'm putting all my chips in there,
yeah,
withdrawals.
me too. Me too. Because like
Yeah, I
it
am.
can't
I'm
be
putting my
that big a
chips in
mistake.
withdrawals.
It can't be that big a mistake to get all
Yeah,
your chips in with a
because
good
I
draw on
just
the
keep
flop, right? I
thinking
love that.
because there's this other theory that we've talked about that's like you have to maximize your fold equity when you have it,
Yeah.
right? So like here's an opportunity to like maximize my fold equity with an open ender and a backdoor. Like, come on.
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
I don't think you're wrong. I think the computer
yeah,
is
you
saying
gotta
that
rip this.
the computer is saying that if the other players are playing in a perfect GTO way, there's actually a way to get even more money out of them than
Right.
doing it that way.
Right.
That's what the computer's saying, I think. And we might say that, well, my opponent isn't playing in the way that a computer is. And the kind of mistake that they're more likely to make is one that I can leverage with my shove here. But
Yeah,
that's
I think that's a good point. I remember, I think it was Andrew Brokus in a recent podcast was saying like, even if your opponent overfolds just a little bit, it quickly shifts your action like by a lot.
Right.
yeah, they move an inch, we move a mile. I remember that one.
Yeah, I was just reading a thread the other night, and on the DTO channel itself, and like even Dom himself was like, he was asking this player, I didn't really see the whole conversation, but he was like, well, are you folding like in game? Are you folding like queen 10 off, queen 8 off, things like that, from this one position? And he's like, oh yeah, every time. And Dom's like, okay, then I'm gonna raise 80% of the time against you. I don't care what my cards are. And the guy's like, well, yeah, but why? And he's like, because you're just gonna fold, so why does it matter? And I was like, yep, perfect point. Like, that's, if you notice somebody's over folding, you can
I like that.
raise into them a lot. You know, the thing with like GTO poker, and I've kind of been slowly grasping this concept, is like it gives you a great foundation of how to play, but you're definitely going to have to, you know, take a right turn or a left turn while you're driving down the road, you know, in game, because people don't play perfect. You know, you can definitely notice the people that are like, okay, this dude's playing pretty close to GTO. Like I can tag him as a really good GTO player, and you want to stay true to those people. But then you've got other people that you're like, okay, like what you're doing is not making sense here. So I can get creative against you with certain ranges, or okay, this guy's over folding, so I know I can check raise him more. Or, oh, this guy's opening really wide, so I want to tighten up against him a little bit. You know, certain just
What's
different
our
aspects like
actual
that.
equity here? Does anybody have an idea of that? Because I gotta believe that in a normal play, and at six-handed, first he should be opening a lot, and we should be calling a lot. Both those things are you're supposed to play a lot of hands six-handed.
Yeah.
But at 18 big blinds, where, you know, in real life, are we approaching a bubble, or, you know, where are we in the ranking of other players? Are we at the
So
bottom or in the
this
middle?
specific setup, I just have it as like a single raise spot. I can, after this hand, I'll go back and kind of show you, since you weren't here for it, but like in the setup, like there's different things that you can put in parameters. Like you can put ICM in there. I think bubble might be in there. And then you can do like 3-bet pot, etc. And then so like the ranges alter compared to how you set the hand up itself.
I don't know what you guys think, but I would look at this position and I would say, I'm making all future street decisions right this second. There will be no further play, because the stack size doesn't lend us to intelligent play. We can't fold away much. So I don't want him putting a 2.8 bet in. I want him to put all his chips or fold. That's what I want him to do. Or I want to fold as soon as I get an opportunity. So if I was in this situation, I would always fold this, because I don't view my odds. I might have 35, 40% equity here, but there might be a better spot for me where I'm in better position or something else going on. I would jam here 80% of the time unless I had other player knowledge. Am I horribly wrong in that thinking? I mean, I don't want to play with 15 or 12 big blinds after this hand.
I really don't hate a jam on this board. Like, I'm not against it. Myself, like, I don't mind playing short. Like, I had perfect example. It was like 2 weeks ago, in the 109 100K online. I got like rocked in the money bubble, just rocked. I got taken down. We were like 3 off the money. I think I had like aces or something and just got dominated post flop. We got it in. I had 3 big blinds behind. From that 3 big blind stack, I made the money, which it paid 240 people. I ended up 30th in the tournament. Those spin-ups do happen. I had another buddy I was watching in a tournament one day. He had 0.16 big blinds. 10 minutes later, I saw him sitting there with 35. Like it just like it does happen. It doesn't always
Well,
happen.
it does happen, but
But that's
unique.
it's what happens. Well, like that happens sometimes, but like what happens more regularly is sort of like what Doug was going after. Is like, man, I maybe I'm sort of adding my own thing to this. Is that, say you were just given an opportunity and you were like, however much you pay for this tournament, $100, right? And someone says, here, I'm going to put you down at this table right now. And you have to make this one decision and this only decision. You can either put all your chips in for $100 or you can fold.
So you mean like a
Now,
flip and go?
what? Yeah, no, I mean, like, not that's not the situation. Like, I'm saying, like, specifically in this spot, this is the only decision that he would make. Like, in an isolated position, like, would you do it for the amount of money that you paid for this, like, for this event? Because, like, is there gonna be a better opportunity for you to get as much equity as you have right now? That's what I think about that, and maybe
Oh,
that's
yeah,
maybe
no,
that's
that's
incorrect, but like,
good
is it a live
thinking.
like
Like
a
when it
live
comes
tournament sort of player?
to like your method of thinking there, I think is actually really good, because you're thinking like, okay, like if somebody puts you all in an instance, is this a great spot for me to call, or is the equities too close, or am I actually like probably behind here and I'm just calling to bluff catch? So will I find a better opportunity later? Like I think about that
and
kind of
like,
stuff all the time. And if you think
like,
like,
is
I'll
it
probably
this?
just get a better spot later, like just fold. There's no shame in folding. Somebody once told me,
Yeah,
sometimes the most positive play you can make is by folding, because you don't lose any more chips.
Right.
yeah.
So what do you guys all do in this situation? The action comes back to you. Calling just doesn't
There's
seem real
there's
reasonable.
there's no way that I am not doubling up or scooping up. I am either, all my money's going in right here. I give no fucks. It's going in, and we're catching the 9.
I think honestly, in real time, I'm probably shoving because of the stack size, but I now appreciate, even out of position, there is room to call here and make good poker decisions on the turn in the river, even though it makes me uncomfortable. And that might be a higher EV play. But in real time, honestly, I'm probably just check raising here because I want to check
Yeah.
raise pretty
I
wide
missed
here.
the setup for this, but are we talking cash or tournament?
It's tournament.
Tournaments there.
But you
Uh,
can set those different parameters. Maybe that's another thing. I mean,
Yeah,
as we do
I'll
more of these
touch.
week after week, we'll
Yeah,
see
and I
more
can
of that.
touch on it more at, here in a couple minutes too. I'll just go back to kind of
I
the
mean,
setups.
my big thing for pushing is that, like, you're gonna get so many hands to fold. Like, so many hands
Mhm.
are gonna fold. Like, because it's their tournament life, and even if we do like get snapped off by pocket fucking aces, right? We still have what, 2.5 big blinds, and there's your like dream story, right?
Yeah, but
But like, while you have some fold equity, use it.
sometimes what happens is you get an opponent who's just gonna they're gonna c-bet the flop and then they're gonna give up on future streets and just check behind.
Mhm.
And sometimes like an 8 comes on the river and you pair your 8 and you win the hand that way. And there's just like when you run out all the different possible runouts and all the different possible actions, and you make the assumptions that we're going to make about your opponent, I think it's never wrong to get it all in with the draw here. But I think on certain runouts, you can make more money by playing it small ball, is what they're saying.
Right.
Even though it's going to
got
be higher variance to do it that way. Yeah, honestly, it's lower variance to shove. It's higher variance to play the run out. But maybe you can win a few extra big blinds doing it that way. I think.
And also here, so like say we call and the 9 comes. The low jack, if he has an ace, he's going to barrel it the whole way. 20 big blinds. His plan is to 100% get it in by the river. So we just sit there and let him, okay, like give us all your money. Okay, fine. Thank you.
Sometimes he's got ace 9,
Yeah.
right? And then he feels even better about getting into when that 9 comes.
Right. There's a lot of reason to call here because if we say like we raise, we're kind of committing ourselves with just a draw, you know. And what do we do when he just jams on us? Is my thought. Because if you get jammed on, you're like he's got a set, he's got 2 pair, he's got a big ace that I basically need my draw to smash to win. Otherwise, you know, I'm just done.
You're gonna hit, dude. You're gonna hit.
You're gonna hit, dude.
But it goes back to the logic that if you're gonna jam in that spot at some point, do you want to jam on the flop before he bets, or do you want to let him get his 2.8 in and jam?
That's
Because
the
I
way to
know it
do it,
doesn't change the outcome of the jam decision, but it might change whether you got the 2.8 chips. But if you're going to fold, then you let him bet and you just fold. But if you call, you're always behind. You gave up all your fold equity. You never, ever expressed it. And you let the person in position, even if he only has a high card, drag you down to the river where maybe you had to make another call because of pot odds and your draws are still there and all those other things. But you're setting yourself up. You never set yourself up to make a winning decision. What Jim, you said was maybe you get lucky on the river. That was your game plan. That, you know, and that's what happens to us if we call down.
Doug, that's a really good point what you're making there. That's a really good point how you made that. That's really well said.
Yeah. And I think you're definitely gonna have harder decisions if you call here in the future, because it's going to be less clear how to proceed when you get a hand like 1 pair. I think when you get a straight or a brick, it's going to be pretty easy decisions. But when you have to decide whether to bluff or not, like you say, Doug, you've got a lot less fold equity on future streets because you didn't take it here. So it's part of it should also, I guess, be villain dependent a little bit too. How aggressive do you think they're going to be on future streets?
Yep.
I don't disagree with that at all, Doug. I think that's all correct.
Yeah. I think you make valid points. Like Jim said earlier, like this is 2 computers going at it. Like there's just, it's all the math behind everything on kind of what you should do.
Right.
And so that's why I say it's like a good foundation and it gives you a good like starting point. So you kind of know kind of what to do in certain situations, but when you've got a read on a player or stats on a player, yeah, always feel free to deviate. Like, do what you have to do to win the pot.
Can I just touch on something here that's just slightly different? If, for instance, because we're talking about sort of the differences between making calling a 2.8 big blind bet or ripping, check ripping. So I think it makes a big difference if that 5 of clubs is actually a 5 of diamonds. Because if the 5 of diamonds comes out, hear me out with this, because this is something that I'm like working on and I don't know if it's accurate or not. But like, if the 5 of diamonds comes out, I am still inclined to check, but this time I'm inclined to call a 2.8 big blind bet so that I can represent strength when I feel that a strong card would come for me by open ripping on like a diamond turn.
I would like that
And then
play.
get maximum fold equity on that, like on the turn.
Yeah, but
Like just,
generally, like,
I don't know, like,
I like your thought there, but like if we don't have any diamonds there, we're not blocking any of their continues. So if like say, these were 3 diamonds here and I had an ace with a diamond and you
You're not
jam on
folding
me,
that.
I'm never folding anything because I have it.
yeah,
I'm blocking some diamonds. I have top pair. It just,
Yeah,
if
you're buying
you got
back
the
into
flush
call
and played
again.
it that way, good for you. But a lot of the times it just won't be a flush doing that. So you got like, that's
Yeah.
where you gotta like have some blockers.
So that's where, so if it was you may even, if it was the 7 of diamonds and the 7 and the 5 of diamonds, then and the same situation happened, check 2.8. And then you may be more likely to fold without the backdoor equity and without any blockers to the diamonds.
Like, right. So you don't have any diamond blockers then. You still got the straight, so you can probably still call, but
You can still call, but that's the difference between either calling or ripping.
and this one, it looks like we're getting a lot of good streets here. So like at the end of the hand too, we'll kind of go through some of the percentages on kind of what different hands want us to do different things. Because it
That's
won't be
cool.
like,
All right.
I'm guessing like not all 6/8's gonna call the flop. Or
Yeah.
on the turn bet here, like this is a geometric sizing. So he's went half pot, he's gonna go half pot on the river. I think now we can just fold because we didn't gain any more equity.
No,
We got,
right. Yeah,
we
yeah.
got no reason to continue. You still have 15 bigs. So, okay, mistake.
A mistake.
Dude said mistake.
So it wanted us to
Dude said
call.
mistake. Computer's a little gambler, huh? The computer's got some gamble to
Computer
him.
saying you're getting good odds on that call with the equity you have in the hand.
Yeah.
So all 6/8s are gonna call.
Yeah,
There.
says bring it.
Every single one's gonna call.
They know that 5 is coming.
It's
They
coming.
do.
And actually look at the
computer knows.
offsuit
They
too.
got-
The offsuits also, that's the suited combos, but the
Yeah.
offsuit combos are also continuing
100%.
at basically 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Which
So
is
that's the
crazy.
power of the draw, right? Power of the draw.
Let's see here. Let's go back to.
Oh, you guys all thought I was crazy, huh? No.
But
So
this is where it's trickier in tournaments because in a cash game, you can just look at the equity you're getting on the draw and decide to call or not, in position, out of position, however deep you are, it doesn't really matter because you can reload. I think the reason a lot of us prefer the shove in these spots is because we're getting short stacked in a tournament and we don't want to get short stacked. We don't want to get more short stacked. So we're like fighting off, we're like defending against this future assailant, which is being short stacked in the tournament. We really don't want that. So we're like pre-fighting that off.
Right.
But I think honestly, guys, if we just understand, if we're just a little more confident in our short stack play, like you can play an 8 big blind stack strategically and effectively.
Yeah.
And if you're comfortable with that, then you should be able to take an EV spot that if you're wrong leaves you with 8 big blinds and not feel bad about it, because you got to take the spots that present themselves in tournaments, right?
Right. And that's one thing like I kind of learned, or not necessarily learned early on, but like focused a lot of study on, because like I kind of came from like, I've played more cash than I did tournaments by far. So I was talking with my coach about that. I was like, man, like once I get under like 80 bigs, like I just get freaked out because I'm like, I can't just reload. Like, cash game, you get under 100 bigs, you're like, let me get back up there. Like, let me top off, but like tournament play. So I focused a lot of study around 20 and 30 big blinds and then shove ranges for like 10 to 15. And my coach's response was like, that's the perfect place for like somebody who's new to tournaments to start their study, because you're going to spend 80% of your tournament in the 20 to 30 big blind range. You're not going to be riding the wave. Yeah, some tournaments you'll ride that wave. You'll get up to 100 bigs early and just keep riding that wave till the end. I think I've done that like twice out of like 1,000 tournaments. It happens, but not that often. But I can tell you like 950 of those tournaments, I was in 20 to 30 big blinds for a couple of hours. And it's just, so navigating those kind of spots and knowing that like, okay, if I get short here, like I'm confident with my jam range that, you know, you get it in. And that's the big thing about tournament plays. Once the money's in, the money's in. There's nothing you can do. That's like the big thing that I have trouble with myself a lot is, like I got it in so good here and I still lost. Like, yeah, well, once the money's in the pot, the money's in the pot. There's nothing you can do. It don't matter how good you got your money in. You know, you could get it in aces against sevens and a 7 on the flop, and you're like, oh, of course. Which that happens to me a lot. So, but anyway, I just think like
Well,
that's where I find value in studying like kind of short play here, because I can tell you like in game, I'm never calling there. I'm never calling with a draw like that, you know, for a third of my stack. So that's kind of good to see. I went back to the flop here, and this is everything that we're calling with. I mean, we're calling with obviously 2 pair there, but we're calling with middle pair. We're calling with 1 pair with a low kicker. I mean, we're calling 7 deuce suited against that bet.
calling half their range, half their opening range, they're calling if you jam.
Yep. And then, so we can, I guess it doesn't really like any of these raises.
Well, back to your comment about, you know, short stack play. And one of the things as a tournament player that I heard early on from pros wanted, you know, all the money's in the top 3 spots. So just getting to those bottom money spots is interesting, but it isn't your goal.
I
so
do like that, except for one
jamming
part.
You want to get out of the 15 to 20 big line zone and get into the 30 so that you can get into the 60 and the 100 again.
Right.
You don't want to go down to 15 and now try to do it from 15. And then wait for a blind to go up so your 15 is 7 or 8, you know. So it just, from my point of view, I had to learn to be more aggressive in these smaller stacks, both by playing bigger ranges, but by getting those chips in when I think I have a good gamble, you know.
I like that. It's mostly true. I would say though, the biggest pay jump you're ever going to see in a tournament is when you go from not in the money to in the money. That is the highest percentage pay jump that you're going to see. Granted,
money is better
everybody
than no
hates, but everybody hates like, all right, I just min cashed, like great, double my money, you know. If that sometimes like you're like I min cashed 3 tournaments today. Whoopee, you know. I do agree, like, but that's one thing that everybody always says to me is, well, just remember, min cash is the highest percent jump. Yeah, but I want that high percent jump at the top of the board. Like, I don't care about that. Oh, the $6 tournament. Like, oh, I made $6 today. Cool, you know. But here, I'll kind of go back here. Let's see, I'll go back home. And so, Doug, since you missed it, and I think Fortune, you missed it as well, the initial setup maybe. So when you first log in, you can never click the instant play button. Just never do it. Just X that out of your spot. You can go to choose your spot. And this is where it's got all the different scenarios. You got 3-bet, heads up, ICM, a limp pot, single raised pot. So the one we were just in was single raised, 20 big blinds, low jack versus the big blind. And then it tells you your stats over here. So out of 191 hands, I've played them 64% GTO.
So does it have like 8-handed or 9-handed, or is it limited to 6-handed?
This is limited to 6. Gosh, I feel like somebody shared a hand with me the other day from a different spot that had more positions. It might have been a cash spot. Now, I will say, so all of their programs are separate. So like, say you buy like post flop, it just gives you access to post flop. They do have cash and pre-flop as well. I have all of them. So, you know, if like Eric, I know you do a lot of cash study. If like the cash is one that you wanted to get, but you didn't want to get the super high roller, again, like send me the hand and I can run through it because I have super high roller on every tier.
Yeah, I'm not doing super high roller cash.
Yeah.
Cash hands.
$15,000 buy-ins?
Well,
I
no,
don't
that's
have
just
that bankroll.
no. That's just the title. That's just the
Yeah,
title.
I know.
that's
I'm
that's
just
the
kidding. I'm kidding.
okay.
I'm
All right,
kidding.
yeah. I want to
I'm
make
just
sure
kidding.
that does land,
I'm
though.
just kidding. But
Yeah.
Yes. I thought the same thing when I first got it. I was like, why I don't
It's
play
funny 'cause-
$10,000 buy-ins?
Because Poker Tracker actually does break theirs out by buy-ins. So
Right.
you can get the Poker
Yep.
Tracker like small stakes one for $100 or something like that. But if you want it to take in the bigger buy-ins, you actually have to buy a more expensive version of Poker Tracker.
which makes sense. They're
It
like,
does, it
hey, if you got a
if you got the
$1 million
bankroll, yeah,
bankroll,
exactly. We
you
want a
can
piece of
afford
that.
Right.
fork over 40 more bucks to us.
Yeah, but that's $50 more one time or
yeah,
something.
yeah. That's true. That's
A
true.
month.
Yeah.
That's true.
And see, that's the like DTO is monthly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I can see how much you get out of it, Tim. So
Yeah,
and
there's
that's nice
definitely a
having
lot. So like for this group specifically, I would just focus on the post lot.
Yeah.
And there, I believe I can click on the cart here. Available spots. Oh, I would have to log out. But there's like, it's like a $5 or $10 version, which you get some stuff with it. Like you do get, I don't know if it shows you the ranges maybe, but you still get to play through the hands. And then the next step up would be, I think it's just the high roller, and it's like $30 a month, and you get basically everything that I have except for percentages. You don't get the percentages that each hand is doing something. You get to see the range, but it doesn't tell you the percentages. And then that's the benefit of the high roller, the super high roller, is you get to see all the betting frequencies. But like I said, just want to send me hands and I can be like, oh, okay, let me click through it real quick. Okay, I'll send you screenshots of the percentages. That's no problem. No problem from my end at all.
And Tim, we're going to set up some links in your page so that people can go directly to DTO and work with you from there. Do you have a coupon code for them as well that gives people a discount if they use
Yes,
it?
so I have my own coupon code. It's you get 20% off. It's the promo code is Misclick, and it should be posted in the group page, the code itself. But I will tell you, if you go to use the code, you have to do it on the web page first. Do not enter it on the app. For some reason, it won't work. They're working through trying to figure out that aspect. I know they've been working through it for like a month, because another person I know with a code was having that issue too. And basically the response we got was, enter it on the website where you don't get it for right now. We're working through it. And I was like, okay. So if you go to use that promo code, make sure you're on the website, but then you can, use the app. You can download the app to your phone, whatever. You can use it that way if you'd like, but just make sure initially when you sign up, you do it on the web page. And it does reoccur monthly too. The promo code's good monthly. So it's not like you'll be charged $20 this month and then $30 from there on out.
Nice. All right. Well, I'm already looking forward to next week, Tim. I got a lot out of this. Way to go, man. This is going to be a great addition for our premium members to find another way to look at hands and to sort of get ready for the Sunday grind.
Yeah. I use this religiously every Sunday. So I'll just say, if anybody does get it next week, let's just do 30 big blinds, big blind versus low jack, single raise pot, because I don't really have any hands played in there. So looks like a good spot. All of the spots should be available for each tier, but if it's not available for whatever tier anybody decides to get, let me know right away and I can change the spot for the week.
Cool.
So perfect.
Sweet. And Tim, why don't you like post a thread in the forum saying like, this is the spot we're going to look at this week. And then if people get in there, they can take a look. And
yeah, I'll make that. And then I'll also say, like, if you have a hand question, post it here, post a link here, and I'll run through it and post pictures of it for whoever.
Nice. And I know you're active in Discord too. So if people want to post stuff in Discord, we can always put up a sub channel for that or something.
Just don't expect Jim to see it.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not I'm not really on Discord much, it's true. But sometimes if the forum doesn't like people posting links as part of its like spam service, then you
Yep.
can post that stuff in Discord. That's an easy way
Okay.
to get that in front of Tim too.
Perfect.
Just in case.
Yeah, and I'm always on Discord, so don't worry about that. So always on Discord.
Sweet, man. Well, thanks again.
Um,
This was a treat.
Yeah,
Yep.
thanks for showing up, everybody. I appreciate it.
Yep.
It was fun.
Thanks, Tim.
Very nice.
Hope to see you guys next week.
Yeah. Good luck, everybody. If you're grinding
Not too
today.
bad.
Yep.
Yep, kick some butt.
See ya.
See ya.
Yeah.